Hello everyone, welcome to the ALTTP Randomizer main tournament for 2019. This is the second race in a matchup between Illus and shadyforce. shadyforce, as you can see below, did win the first game. Illus decided to not make any changes though, so we're still doing a regular old 7-7 Ganon Tower required race. So no changes there. I am one of your commentators, Hammerbro, and I am joined today by WiredWiki. WiredWiki, how are you doing today, man?
Hey, Hammer. Yeah, I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, man. I got off of work not too long ago. I am getting my fix of ALTTP Randomizer again today. It's a wonderful place to be. What are you looking for in this race?
Ooh, that's a good one. I wonder if Illus can put it back to 1-1 and get a deciding game 3 out of that.
Yeah, that's a good thing to look for. More rando is always fun.
I mean, I don't want to favor any one of the two over the other, but I mean, everyone wants to do a game 3, right?
Pretty much. We basically all want every single one of these to go to game 3, unless you're pulling for a particular runner, in which case you just want them to crush the competition. But outside of that, game 3s are always fun.
Except for the runners themselves, because the pressure can get like really, really bad in a deciding last game.
That's a fair point too, but I'm fairly certain at this point if we were really concerned with what the runners thought and the runners' mental state, we wouldn't be giving them some terrible seeds that I've seen so far in this. Speaking of which, here we go. Ooh, shadyforce is going to love those set of bombs. That can make routing Kakariko a lot easier. Alright, so the one thing I've noticed with this new version is that we've had some really, really odd troll items. I haven't seen any ice rod trolls yet or anything like that. It's been more of the items that you usually get a little earlier. Like I've seen late fire sources, I've seen late mitts, I've seen late flippers. So what do you think we're going to get trolled with today, if anything?
Oh boy. I mean, well, you said you haven't seen any Ice Rod trolls. Does Ice Rod and Turtle Rock count? Especially on Laser Bridge? Does that count as a...
Oh, I would definitely count that one. I must just not have seen that race. That's unfortunate.
It happens sometimes though. It's still rando, but a troll. I would like to see a fetch quest item, honestly. Ooh, that's an early murrow for Illus.
That is, and it's always slightly terrifying to see that moon pearl right away, because that could lead to a lot of unpleasant things. Now, I'm sure the runners are less concerned about really early Dark World access than, say, I would be, because they are much better than me. But still, that really early moon pearl might lead you to either getting just strictly what you need for Aghanim, or getting, a hammer and a glove, or 2 gloves right here in Kakariko, and then being tempted to just run straight to the Dark World only a couple minutes in. I really hope Illus gets some bombs here. Okay, there we go.
Oh, speaking of which...
I'm just glad they didn't have to re-drop, because that can really be a pain in the butt sometimes. You have to revisit locations.
Yeah, you really, especially in early game Kakariko, you want to have the most checks done and not have to re-enter certain areas.
Yeah, on top of that, it also kind of gives you a mindset of, if you have to double check a couple things, now you feel like you're a minute behind and you just started, and that's not a fun way to play a seed.
Yeah, not only that, if you have to hold off on that, for example, a spot where you need bombs, and you don't check it now and you get the bombs later, it might become an isolated place, and that's definitely what you don't want in a seed.
Yeah, I actually think I saw that happen with the chicken hut in an earlier race. Because of exactly what you said. They didn't have bombs, so then they kind of routed Kakariko backwards. and forgot about that one location. There ended up being something important there, like Fire Rod or something ridiculous.
Ooh, that's rough. Meanwhile, getting 10 bombs off the bottle vendor is a little bit overpriced, but it's not too bad.
No, not really. It's not as bad as it could have been. It would have been much worse had Illus stopped at, oh, hello. Well, that flute's nice. Anyways, those bombs would have been much worse had Illus gone over to the hut and bought bombs in the first place.
Yes, and speaking of important items in Chicken Hut, there is one already. Or, well, we don't know yet if it is important, but it might be.
Yep, what he is alluding to is the flute, so grab your cheese and quackers because the duck is unstuck. And regardless of whether or not it's required, it's a huge time save, especially at this point. Just being able to fly that thing around saves so much time.
Yeah, an early flute makes routing a lot faster.
Yeah, by and large, when it comes to routing, the three things you want really early are a flute, the mirror, and the boots. And if you can get all three of those, then your routing's probably going to go as kindly as it can.
Speaking of boots, we just saw the library check, and there's nothing important there, so boots are not into play yet.
Interesting thing, I just saw the map check, and we only have one crystal in the light world. So I wonder if this will be a seed that requires our runners to early dip a possible pendant to get dark world progression.
Speaking of boots, again! Wow.
Alright, so it looks like this seed might be going for convenience, which is also mildly terrifying when stuff starts popping up the way this is. You're just kind of waiting for the other boot to fall, if you will. Alright, so it's 6 minutes in, we have a bunch of stuff that's going to make our routing a heck of a lot easier. It would be really nice to have a weapon of some sort, though.
Yeah, so far, besides the bomb, they don't really have anything to do damage with.
Yep, since unfortunately running into enemies really quickly head first does not actually hurt them. Alright, and Moldorms being Moldorms. I presume that we're going to see a water walk here. Yep. Honestly, I really can't blame Illus for this. Okay, Fire Rod. That's an interesting spot for that.
Well, there's your weapon.
Well, yeah, but it being there doesn't do us any good.
Not yet. It does mean that the mirror is required in this seat, though.
It does. It also makes the flippers hard required. Which, that's fairly likely since Swamp is almost definitely not going to be our other pendant. But even such, you're really going to need that Fire Rod. Alright, now we have a little bit of divergence. Looks like Shadyforce is headed towards Eastern, while Illus goes ahead and knocks out those boots checks. Or at least the one they can do right now.
Looks like Illus is going to check Lumberjack Ledge.
Okay,
Wow.
then. Alright, so it seems like our buddy Sahasrarlo was a blacksmith earlier in his life and just have a couple swords laying around. That's convenient.
Indeed. Meanwhile, did you see what was on Lumberjack Ledge? Because I missed it.
I missed it as well, but I'm fairly certain we have at least one person who has that information for us in chat. Yep, 50 rupees, so nothing that solidifies Aghanim yet. Although given the 2 swords and the Moon Pearl, we are just a lamp away. And this is interesting, because if Illus decides to head straight into escape right now, they're not going to have any weapons to speak of other than bombs, so Shadyforce is definitely going to save some time with the Master Sword.
It sure does look that way, so I hope Illus knows how to use his bombs properly.
Yeah, bomb escape isn't terrible, but it's also not exactly fun. So, although with 7 bombs, I'm fairly certain that Illus will be okay. That was a very nice double bomb kill there. Yeah, and chat pointing out that currently we don't really have a whole lot that's in logic to check. I would assume that, so we have Eastern Palace, which can still be checked. We have Aghanas Cave. We're also going to end up having the back of escape in logic outside of there not being a key, because in order for us to do Aghanim, we're going to need that lamp, which would also put, at the very least, Dark Cross into logic. Oh, interesting. And Bonk Rocks was Sankheart, which we didn't know off of Illus's screen, because they weren't missing any hearts this time.
There's also Spectacle Rock that is in logic because of the flute.
Yep. That is another isolated check, although our runners will probably pair that with saving the old man and at least checking the top of Spectacle Rock. Alright, that's another check out of the way that wasn't terribly useful at all. So at this point we basically have a choice between doing Eastern, or as much of Eastern as we can, and going to go save our old man and head up to the mountain.
And it looks like that's exactly what Shady is going to do.
Well, it's fairly easy to guess when you don't really have a whole lot of locations left. Illus, meanwhile, is going to be very pleased to get 2 swords, and might decide to take that into Eastern, given their rapidly dwindling amount of locations to check. This could also very easily be a situation where the rando kind of strings us along for a bit. Okay, well there's the other rod.
So we know that the ice rock is at least fire locked, or well, lantern locked by logic.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen the ice rod there. That's an interesting spot for it. You think maybe the old man grabbed the wrong one? Oh, hello, mirror. Okay, speaking of which, now Hera is in logic. Outside of the basement, obviously. So, we'll see how long we get strung along here. Meanwhile, Illus just grabbing a compass there with the first eastern chest. Interesting choice to get the 3-heart heal there. Alright, so it looks like we're going to have a Hera clear from Shadyforce. Alright, so 5, 6 are Skull Woods and Thieves Town, and our other pendant was Mire, interestingly enough. So all the fascinating stuff happening on the west-hand side of the map. Okay, so with that hammer, we are just a glove away from Dark World access. That's interesting. Alright, Shadyforce deciding not to do the... Oh, right, can't do it without the hookshot. Never mind, ignore the idiot in the comm booth. So at this point, we're looking to uncover either the glove or the lamp.
And that's gotta be interesting because from what we saw on Illus screen, there is basically nothing in EP so far.
Yeah, I missed 1 or 2 of those chests, but I didn't see anything useful out of the ones that I did see. Oh, you didn't mean to jump down there.
That might indicate that the progression is actually on Death Mountain.
Oh yeah, that's right, because Hammer gives us East Death Mountain access. I completely forgot about that. You know, it's interesting that Shadyforce forgot about that too. Didn't have to save and quit out of Hera, could have just gone to East Death Mountain. Either way, at this point we have Shadyforce running through Eastern. Not going to find anything useful there, but can at least get some checks out of the way. Illus, meanwhile, is fending off some bats in his journey to get the old man to safety.
And with succession, Illus gets the ice rod as well from the old man.
Yep, gonna be grabbing their mirror in just a second here too, which will lead to another dip of Hera that'll give us the hammer. And it looks like we might very well see a bomb jump. This is not an easy bomb jump to do. But nonetheless done successfully, so congrats to that.
Yeah, very well done by Illus. And I wonder, because they don't have a fire source, they know, or at least Illus is gonna find out that in logic, they need to go to the basement. Would Illus consider the Hera pod?
That is an interesting thought. Shadyforce didn't even really seem to think about it, just kind of went, oh, right, I don't have a lamp or a fire rod, never mind, I'm done. We'll see what Illus does under similar circumstances. Looks like Shadyforce is going to do some fake flipping. You know, I wonder if Shadyforce perhaps hasn't realized that they have East Death Mountain access at the moment. I feel like the 8 checks that are in logic here would take precedent over the 4 checks that you would be able to look at fake flipper-wise. Was that another sword that I saw on Floating Island, or did I missee that? Half magic, alright. Thank you, chat. Oh, that's unfortunate. You don't want to bonk when you're water walking, and the flute's not going to help you here, bud.
Yeah, that's very, very unfortunate.
Oof, that's something I've done a handful of times. That's unpleasant. I'm sorry, Shady. Alright, so it looks like we have 5 checks here in the wonderful top of Paradox Cave. Wonder what we're going to find in here. Illus is definitely hoping for a glove over a lamp. That's for darn sure. And well, there's our glove.
There's the glove.
Thank goodness. Alright, so Aghanim is officially dead. Aghanim was dead a couple of minutes ago when we checked his cave. Alright, Illus selecting to go ahead and get the back of escape out of the way. Not a bad idea, since you can easily forget those few chests back here. And it looks like we're going to have a Dark Cross check.
Yes, and that bottle is very convenient too, because I reckon Illus' next play is either going to be Hype Cave or going to Kakariko. And with the mirror, you can turn in the bottle to Sick Kid right away.
Yeah, that is a really, really good check. Sick Kid seems to have been more useful as of late than normally, so it'll be interesting to see if Sick Kid is harboring something that we need. Alright, so with Dark Cross done, Illus can officially X out everything in this area. That is one entire section of the map he does not have to worry about anymore. Yep, and it looks like we're getting Hype Cave. Which is an interesting choice. I'd love to see it make a liar out of me this go-round, but I have yet to see anything really useful in Hype Cave at all under any circumstances during this version.
You know what's funny? This is the second race I'm commentating today, and in both races we had synchronized Hype Cave checks.
Alright, that's a vanilla rupee horde. Do we even want to play Rate That Hype Cave?
Well, it's a double check, so 0 out of 20.
That's pretty accurate right there.
If anything, this seed is very, very rich.
Thus far, yes. At least in the early game, it has been friendly. We will see if it continues to do that, or if the horrible, horrible task of item hunting rears its ugly head.
Interesting. Shady opt to skip K45 for now.
Oh, 1 dig for a 20. And yeah, fully skipping K45. That's an interesting choice. You know, I think Shady might have forgotten that they have the mirror momentarily there, because not only did we not get a check of K45, they also chose to save and quit rather than just mirroring back to the light world and fluting, which would have been faster. As Sick Kid gives us Bombos. That's fun. At least we know that we won't require a Bombos Ice Palace, since as soon as we get the flippers, we'll be able to get the Fire Rod.
But Bombos might be required for Turtle Rock.
Or Mire, as it may be. Well, there's a shovel. Oh boy, the fetch quests have begun.
Both opting to go for Thieves Town, which, I mean, why not? It's a crystal, it's fully beatable. It's actually a 5/6 crystal, so why wouldn't you? Although Illus finds the cape on its way to it. And I think we've only seen one item so far in Thieves Town.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure only those 10 arrows. No God Pixel for shadyforce, but I don't think they were trying terribly hard.
It was a good hellway nonetheless. I would take that.
Yeah, very much so. Anytime you can get through there without getting hit and without having to sidestep and dance your way through it, it's definitely a plus. You know what I'm looking forward to? Our blind pond.
I wonder what Blind comes up with today.
I don't know. My favorite pun that I have yet to see is that Link doesn't tolerate shenanigans.
Fair enough. I think whatever it is, I don't think I can see the pun come in.
It's okay, neither can Blind. Thanks for the setup, by the way. That made that one a little too easy.
The rando is hard enough. Let's make some things easy.
That is fair. There have been some really cruel seeds. Hopefully this one will turn out a little bit nicer for our runners. Alright, you don't really want a fireball in the butt. Man, that guy's really mean. You know, it's funny, with Shadyforce only having 2 hearts, I'm sure they're really wishing they had that cape right now.
I think Shady still has the blue potion, though.
That's a fair point, but I feel like when you're gifted a blue potion in Randomizer, you really don't want to use it. Oh, Blind making a terrible pun. So far, so good, though. We are out of the easier portion. Now we're at round 3 here. Just a couple more swings, and yeah, Shadyforce didn't need a darn bit of health.
That was really well executed by Shady.
It was. It gets overlooked a lot of times since Blind is technically a scripted fight, but that thing can go really, really wrong really fast. In spite of the fact that it wasn't needed, Shadyforce is probably still going to roll his eyes at seeing that cape right there.
Who knows? Finding the cape might actually lead Shady to Bumper Ledge.
That's a fair point. Bumper Ledge will be nice. We also might see a magic bat check here. Yeah, fetch quests are best gotten over with, lest you forget they exist. And that's not a good place to be. I'm honestly really glad that both of our runners got powder early, because I've seen this check be a complete and total nightmare too. This go around just having a heart though.
I think I know what you're talking about, because I believe I've seen that match as well.
I've seen it twice. It was not fun. I calmed both of those races too.
Oof. But not today. Nothing is on Magic Bat.
It seems like Shadyforce and Illus may have been thinking the same thing, taking that powder right to the bat. It will be interesting to see if both of them remember that they have the shovel. That fetch quest is a little more insidious as it's sitting behind your flute, which obviously you're going to use quite a bit more than the shovel.
Yeah, and oddly enough, it's more isolated for Illus than for Shady, because Shady hasn't checked K45 yet.
Yeah, that'll be another intriguing thing to see if Shady remembers that they haven't checked K45 and remembers that it exists. Now, it doesn't actually matter, because I'm pretty sure there was like a piece of heart, or I think it was a big 20 in there. But either way, interesting as Illus decides that they're gonna check Skull Woods. Illus does know that the fire rod's behind flippers, right?
But what if the flippers are in Skullwoods? Oh my god!
Alright, burn the witch! Burn the witch!
I'll just keep my mouth shut from now on.
You literally called it! First shot! Are you kidding me? It's okay, it's okay. I had a call like that last night where I called the boot sitting in Checkerboard Cave, so I can't give you too much of a hard time for it. Kudos, and don't try it again because it usually only works once.
I was joking.
You may have been joking, but the randomizer was not. So this is going to be interesting now, because Shadyforce does not have the flippers. That is a really hard fake flipper.
Yeah, saying of a nice fake flipper.
So for those of you who have never tried that, that is darn near impossible. Don't let his one shot fool you. That was insane. But yeah, that could end up being a really trolly check for Shadyforce. It really paid off for Illus, since, you know, we found the flippers in Skull Woods, but I don't think Shadyforce will be as inclined to go there. So we'll see how it works out. Very nice. Knowledge of the Dark World portals is a fairly rare thing, so a very heads-up play by Illus. And you know, at this point, we might have some major divergence, because I wouldn't be surprised to see Illus go complete Skull Woods or just head towards dungeons at this point, whereas Shadyforce, without going into Skull Woods, is not going to have the fire rod or the flippers.
Does Shadyforce actually know that fire rod is on Lake Hylia? Because I missed.
I don't know. I don't know that Shadyforce fake flippered at all. Off the top of my head, I think they both did, but I'm not certain.
I think Shadyforce did water walking, if I'm correct, but didn't check the island.
That's right, Shadyforce did water walk, and Chad is also agreeing with you there, so I am fairly certain that they are correct. Alrighty, and here comes the ripoff king. This should be fun.
Yeah, I believe Shadyforce just checked it and it's just nothing.
It's always nothing. Every single time it's nothing.
Unless you think it's nothing, not go there, and it actually is progression.
That's a fair point. You know, this seed has been really, really friendly on hearts so far.
Yeah, hearts and money. I think Illus is actually going for that dig spot now.
You know, I honestly can't say I blame him. At this point, with the really, really amazing choice of finding your flippers sitting in Skull Woods, it doesn't surprise me that they're just trying to make sure they don't mess anything up. At this point, it's a don't give anything back to Shadyforce, because that call is a really, really good call, especially knowing that the fire rod is on Lake Hylia Island. So at this point, it's about maintaining that lead as best you can. Don't give it away. Meanwhile, Shadyforce headed straight into pod with no bow. This could be interesting.
Yeah, and I can only imagine Illus is going to finish Skullwoods and potentially go to Pyramid Ferry right after.
That wouldn't surprise me. Skullwoods, Pyramid Ferry, probably get Ice Palace out of the way. Because even though well, I don't know, you can get around the Hookshot and the Cane of Samaria, but I'm not sure if they would choose that over dipping pod or something similar.
Well, for Ice Palace, Illus still needs the Titansmiths. So that wouldn't be possible yet.
Ignore me.
Maybe a dip into Swamp, hoping to find a hookshot there.
That's fair. That could also be similarly unfriendly. We'll see. It also depends on what the other item here in Skull Woods is.
Pod, by logic, is bow-locked, but Shadyforce might try the glitch with the bottle.
Yep, definitely going that way. You're here, you might as well. At this point, you've already done the work. And after you're done exploring pod, you mirror out anyways, so even knowing that they're not going to get the bow here doesn't really change it. They've already made the walk. It's not going to be any shorter.
Meanwhile, in Skullwood, it seems like that the second item is in the back. Or I must have been miscounting, but I think we've only seen one item yet.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain we've still only seen the flippers. Alright, so it looks like Chad is asking for a quick explanation of the bottle glitch. Basically what happens is those four rooms there, the one room you walk out of, the room you walk into, and the hallway in between are all on a large tile. And what you can do is, for some reason that I don't know because I haven't programmed the game and don't know it nearly that well, but using a bottle in that location prevents the camera from being fixed. And because this game is much like a baby, where if you hide something, it doesn't exist, then as soon as you make sure the mimics are off-screen, or nearly off-screen, because you can barely see them, but not cleanly, the game decides that you must have killed them, and then the door opens. Alright, so we didn't see either of those items, and that was a really, really fast inventory check.
Oh, meanwhile on Illus screen, that's huge, that's the Titansmiths.
Yeah, so like I said, Illus is probably going to go to Ice Palace afterwards. See, I just knew they were going to get the meds here.
I believe you.
I don't.
That's 50%, I would take that.
Oh, and there's the Arrow of Destiny in its French vanilla location. That's unkind. Now this is interesting, with both Mire and Desert being pendants. I think that was Ether to get into Mire. That looked like a vanilla requirement.
Yeah, I believe so.
And Illus is headed straight into Pendant Desert. I wonder if this is something that's being done just on a whim. Shadyforce seems to be slightly uncertain. Alright, and Pod looking like comes up completely empty again, which is unusual for Pod.
For all we know, Helmasaur might have something though.
That is a fair point. I shouldn't speak too soon. Just usually there's a couple items in Pod, and they don't appear to be around. So at this point, where could Shadyforce be headed? Looks like we might have that K45 check, especially since they went into the Dark World. So we're probably going to have Shovel and K45, which not going to get anything out of those either, unfortunately.
However, over in the Mire Shed, we have a bow.
Oh boy, this seed seems to be running away from Shadyforce. It is Randomizer cascading at this point.
Yeah, by the looks of it, it seems that Flippers is actually key to progress a lot.
It also looks like Shadyforce is darn near going to last location them, which is not going to feel good. I mean, on one hand, it's going to be a, really? You put the Flippers there? Come on! But on the other side, it's still going to feel terrible. Meanwhile, Illus will be able to clear both Pod and Eastern. Lamp notwithstanding, but really we're not too concerned about that at this given point. With 13 hearts, Blue Mail, Fire Rod, I don't think Turtle Room's going to be much difficulty. And, you know, now that we are 2 items away, if I'm counting correctly, we might want to start talking about Go Mode. Outside of not knowing that the medallion for Turtle Rock, as Shadyforce grabs the Flippers and probably starts rolling their eyes, we're sitting at needing the Cane of Samaria and the Hook Shot.
Well, at least for Cane of Samaria, that one can be in Turtle Rock, fortunately for Illus. So if that's the Go Mode item for Illus later on, then at least they don't have to check that.
That's a fair point. There's also a decent chance that it would be on Dark Death Mountain, which would be convenient or inconvenient depending on how Illus is thinking about checking things. That hookshot's also going to be interesting because it could be sitting in Swamp, and that would be not fun. It could also be in certain parts of Ice Palace, and that's also not fun. I do feel like we need to talk about the potential, though. Hookshot could be sitting on Ped. Cane of Samaria could not.
I was literally just about to say that Hookshot could be on Ped.
I feel the need to say it. And Quake could be on Ped as well, if that's required for Turtle Rock. Or if it's not required for Turtle Rock, as well. But if it's ether, it's not going to help us because we need it for Meyer. And if it's Bombos, well, we already have it. I really hope Shadyforce remembers to check Floating Island, or else, yeah, this could go really bad really fast. Alrighty, so it does look like we're going to maybe not. Hey, you don't have the mitts, bud. No, you want to check that island? Oof. Alright, looks like we're doing a potion grab to kind of reset the noggin here.
Maybe Shady is going for it now, hoping there's something on it and just gonna blind mirror to it.
I honestly certainly hope so.
Maybe. There's hope.
Now go south. Go south. That's not south!
No, that looks like a pyramid check.
You know, this could very well be a situation where Shadyforce has knocked it off of his tracker and just doesn't realize that he hasn't actually checked it.
Shady does find the hook shot, though.
It's an interesting spot for that. Alright, with that, Ped is dead. Sorry guys, we are just looking for the Cane of Samaria and maybe Quake. Although I'm slightly curious as to where the lamp is now. Ice Palace? I think is not the only spot we have left it could be. Oh no, could also be in Dark GM because we got the mitts off of our lovely little moth buddy. Alright, so in just a moment here, we will get to see if Pod is in fact completely and totally useless.
It technically never is, because it brings us a crystal at least.
That is a fair point, I'll give you that. Early Big Key and Swamp. That's convenient.
Now I wonder what Illus is going to do now. Oh yeah, right, EP. That makes sense.
Yep, this will be a quick run through. But as we go on through here, Shadyforce really needs to head over to Floating Island. The sooner the better. Alright, thus far we don't have anything useful in Swamp. We still have quite a bit to check. Shadyforce is going to go ahead and check West Side Swamp before completing the Argus kill. Makes sense. If you know you're going to do it later, you might as well just do it while you're here. Although I don't know what technically costs more time. Alright, so this is a blink and you'll miss it fight over on Illus' side. I'm sorry, Illus, I blame myself. Commentator's curse. My fault. Yeah, a couple of happy slashes from Armos getting out of the corner.
Yes, and that brings Illus to 4 crystals already.
Yeah, I'm making really fast work of this now that the flippers and fire rod were located. So this is interesting. If Illus chooses to go to Swamp before doing Pyramid, this will be a double dip, and a rather unpleasant one at that. Pyramid Fairy. This will be a new check. We'll get to see if maybe Arcane of Samaria is sitting over here.
If it's over there, then Illus might potentially be in go mode.
Yep. 1 in 3 chance, but the chance is still there. At that point, I feel like, at least personally, my next check would be Dark Death Mountain and Turtle Rock. If I get the Cane of Samaria here, I would just straight flute there, just to know for certain, am I in go mode? If I'm not, what do I need?
Well, no Sumaria here, so...
Yeah, Pyramid Fairy ended up not being worth our time.
Well, this is good news for Shady, though.
Yes. On the flip side, not so good news for Shady. There was absolutely nothing in here, at least that I saw in Swamp Palace.
Still gets a crystal out of it, though.
Yeah, definitely something that needs to be done. And as it looks like Illus is going to be heading straight back to Swamp, This is almost definitely going to be a full clear of swamp on Illus's side as well, which means Shady Force won't end up actually losing any time on this play.
I must admit, Shady making a nice work of that Ice Rod on Argus.
Yeah, Ice Rod Argus is not easy, and Shady pretty much just made that last statement seem like a complete and total lie. Yeah, I think Shady Force may have potentially marked off the Lake Hylia Island. Alright, we really need a flute to 8, and we're not getting it. This is interesting. What's up here that Shady Force could be doing? I think we're going to get some rechecks, because Shady Force still does not have a fire source. It can't do anything further in Hera. Oh,
As
you know what?
Spiking is an option.
Yeah, I really think at this point Shady Force has completely forgotten about Floating Island.
Yeah, I wonder what Shady's gonna do next.
I think that Shady might be wondering that same thing, but I really hope that we're seeing a Floating Island check right now.
I actually think it's gonna happen.
Oh, thank goodness. There's gonna be some unpleasantry right here, guys. Yeah.
And there are the rage slashes. Now, I'm not gonna... It does look bad for Shady, but as long as Somaria hasn't been found yet, there is still a chance.
Very much so. This could very easily turn into a case of, I don't know, Somaria being in Misery Mire, for instance, and Shady Force grabbing the Ether Medallion from somewhere and then going, you know, a gamble is just what I need right now. Going to Misery Mire and finding it while Illus clears Misery Mire last, because statistically it's the worst place to go. So there are still some options here for Shady Force. Alright, so Shady Force is going to be just a couple of moments away from grabbing their mitts, which will be nice. Nice. Helping open up our seed a little bit here. Let's see. I don't believe... Was there anything on Graveyard Ledge?
I think it has been checked, but there was nothing.
Alright, I'm just trying to remember where everything was at this point.
Of course, we always have chat who knows what's up, so thanks for mentioning that the Graveyard Ledge was a bottle with a B.
So thankfully for Shady Force, all this will do here, even if this seed doesn't end up going their way, is constitute a game 3. Which obviously is not the end of the world here. Meanwhile, Illus taking out Argus and leaving us with just a couple crystals left. So unfortunately, for those of you who really... Oh, that's interesting. Alright, so Illus deciding to head up Death Mountain first. That's not a bad choice. I actually kind of expected an Ice Palace clear, but Go Mode Ice Palace is far too tempting in a lot of ways.
Well, not only that, I think, like you mentioned before, checking what the medallion is for Turtle Rock and maybe getting some Dark Death Mountain checks as well.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but I kind of thought that Illus wasn't going to go that way after doing Swamp. Because I would have done Dark GM like before even going to Swamp. So I thought that Illus was maybe not thinking along those routes, and instead choosing to clear Swamp Palace.
Fair enough. And Shady... I think Shady's gonna feel really behind now because of the Fire Rod and now finding the Titansmiths as well. Oh, speaking of Kane, hi.
No, don't do that! Oh, okay. I don't know why Illus did that. You really wanted to check that medallion. This could be interesting. Alright, so it does look like we're going back up. I think Illus had the same thought, just a couple of seconds too late.
Shady actually going for an interesting Ice Palace play.
You know, that's not really too surprising. At this point, got everything you need to clear it outside of potentially Cane of Samaria, but we can easily bomb jump through that. So it's a dungeon that's clearable. I'm not too terribly surprised to see it.
Yeah, I think Shady's holding off on going to EP and Pod before finding the bow. Which, I mean, makes sense. Not knowing that where the bow is, of course.
Yeah, that's another fair point. You really don't want to be messing around with dungeons you can't clear, especially not at this point. Alright, we can put a halt on that go mode, because we need Quake.
That means the pet dream is still alive.
So what you're saying is this seed has one more chance to renege on being a good seed.
Oh, hey, there's Lantern.
There's the lamp. We've been looking for that. I mean, not really, but kind of, I guess. And as for Pyramid, I'm really not too worried until I come across that Ether Medallion. Once I see that Ether Medallion, then I'm starting to be a little peeved at the possibility of it. Shadyforce getting firebarred after a nice bomb jump, and then having trouble with the bomb jump. Welcome to Randomizer. You know, I'm fairly certain that neither of our runners would say no to a Tempered Sword or to Silver's. So one of those would be nice right about now.
That would definitely be helpful, yeah.
Looks like Illus is going to go ahead and follow Shadyforce into Ice Palace. You know, at least so far, we have seen very minimal checking of any of the pendant dungeons. I wonder if that will be able to continue, or if we're going to find our Quake medallion somewhere in Desert or Hera. Or, for that matter, Misery Mire or the Pedestal, but so far I'm going with what we can actually access.
Yeah, I think Tower of Hera was checked, but at that point they both didn't have a fire source, so they couldn't continue.
Yeah, it was a really minimal check. Neither of them actually got out of that front lobby. Alright, so far Ice Palace not exactly giving us anything useful. Still have a couple of checks left. We're just about run out of real estate here. Alrighty, so as both of our runners continue to attempt to make sensible routing of the ridiculous labyrinth that is Ice Palace, this is a great time to remind you to go ahead and give our runners a follow. They are some of the best ALTTPR players on the planet, as judged by their wonderful making it into the group stages here, because only 128 people did that. So, go ahead and give them a follow for not only playing well, but putting their work on display for us to commentate, laugh at, make fun of, and otherwise comment on.
Meanwhile, shadyforce is going off to Goldster, I believe not finding anything yet.
Yeah, no, there wasn't anything here. Yeah, so for those of us who have just joined, shadyforce kind of got randoed. It was a situation where Illus did a check of Lake Hylia Island and saw the fire rod there, and then made the absolutely absurd decision to go check Skull Woods knowing that, and surprise be to no one, Skull Woods ended up having the flippers, so Illus was then able to grab the flippers, go ahead and grab the fire rod, and just clear stuff from there. Keep in mind that Mothula was sitting on our Titansmiths, so yeah, it was one of those seeds. shadyforce forgot to check Lake Hylia Island and forgot that they didn't check Lake Hylia Island, so really last locationed it, and it's kind of gone downhill from there.
Shady now gonna check the Mire Shed, obtaining the bow, and most likely we'll go for pot AP right away.
Yeah, at this point, that's what I assume what would happen. Shady doesn't know that they can't get into Turtle Rock, but they know they can't get into Mire, don't have the cane yet, and I doubt they're going to start making pendant gambles just yet. So I imagine this will be an Eastern pod check, and then we might start to see some crazy decisions based upon where shadyforce thinks they are in comparison to Illus. Great time to use that green goo. Master Sword Cold Stare is not generally fun, but Fire Rod, not too difficult.
Yes, Illus picking up their 6th crystal. Only Turtle Rock left, but still need to find that Quake before Illus is actually able to enter Turtle Rock.
Yeah, that's one saving grace. At the very least, this will be a go mode T-Rock. And it looks like we might see a Smith chain check here. Alright, so at this point we're running a little low on locations where our pendants, or where our Quake Medallion could end up being. Smith Chain being one of those sets of locations. We also have, quite obviously, our pendant dungeons, which we're trying our best to ignore at this given point. There's also Pedestal for those of you who are slightly more sadistic in nature.
Well,
alternatively, could be right there too. So at an hour and 15 minutes and a little bit of change, Illus is in go mode. Although fairly certain he's going to have to drop off his froggy buddy first. Alrighty, so chat, you get the wonderful delight of getting to see a Go Mode Turtle Rock. I say that sarcastically because half the time a Go Mode Turtle Rock isn't much different from a non-Go Mode Turtle Rock.
I think the only big difference might be that Laser Bridge is not required, but then again, Illus might go to Laser Bridge anyways to find a Sword of Great or Silvers.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think at this point it's all about how Illus is feeling about their race versus Shadyforce. Obviously, that's a little more difficult to discern. It's pretty clear to tell that Shadyforce knows they're just ridiculously behind after last locationing that item. But Illus, I don't know, I think we'll get to see just a little bit about what they're thinking about this race based upon what they choose to pick up along the way and what they choose to just leave and keep going. Now, I think the best possibility for all involved is if he just stumbles upon maybe a sword upgrade or two in silvers. That would be nice, because you're clearing chests, you have to, but I don't think Illus will be going too far out of their way to grab anything.
To be fair, and I might be a little bit sadistic, I kinda want to see a Master Sword Silverless on Ganon.
Oh, Spin Cycle Ganon isn't fun, though. I mean, it's kind of fun to watch, but you don't want to waste that on our runners, do you?
Maybe? Nah, honestly, if I was running, I would hate it to do a silverless Master Sword again. Oh hey, it's Ether.
Cool, we can go check Meyer now.
Maybe Meyer has both sword upgrades.
Oh, that would be just unpleasant to the extreme. It could honestly also be something terribly heartbreaking, like, I don't know, a sword upgrade in Mimic Cave or something.
Yeah, if it's a Mimic Cave, I doubt we will ever see it.
No, almost definitely not. It also wouldn't surprise me if we saw a key steal here and didn't actually see the lava chest. Never mind.
So Illus is looking for those upgrades. And there is Somaria for Shady, now hoping that Turtle Rock is Bombos, but we all know better though.
Yeah, the heartbreak is about to be imminent here. And there it is. And then there's always the, well, maybe it's in Hookshot Cave. Oh. Alright, as we suspected, we didn't see a Mimic Cave check there. But we could get lucky and not have to do Laser Bridge, depending on what Illus chooses to do here. Yeah.
We don't have a key left, so we do have. But it does depend on where the key on Laser Bridge is, though.
So at this point, assuming that Illus is doing fine with their laser skips, I would not at all be surprised to see a full clear of Laser Bridge regardless of where that key is. Just because you've got 3 chests that are right stinking there, even if you get the key first thing.
Meanwhile, Shady's actually checking Tower of Hera.
Alternatively, we might not have a choice in checking the entirety of Laser Bridge.
Yeah, the small key in its vanilla location.
Yeah, so at this point, this seed is just becoming more and more unfortunate for Shadyforce. Not going to find anything of grave importance here. Might find a sword upgrade or silvers, but nothing that's really going to help him out. Alrighty, so with Trinex nearly down, unfortunately our guessing game bot is still on the outs, I believe, unless it's been recently fixed. But we can still play in the game regardless. There are 22 locations in Ganon's Tower that may or may not possess the big key. Your job is to make an attempt at guessing which of those locations will contain it. So, 1 through 22. Wired Wiki, do you have a chest guess for me?
Yes, I always go with 14, so that's my pick for today. And what is your pick?
14, Bob's chest. I am going to go with 17. I'm going to hope for a vanilla big key.
Very interesting.
I mean, I've found that 17 is about the highest I can go without being fully labeled a troll. Anything higher than that, and people are like, oh, you're just being mean. But at 17, you can kind of get away with it. So that's usually what I go for.
Fair enough. And Shady, looks like Shady is just clearing pendant dungeons now, hoping to find that Quake.
Yeah, it's not a bad route to go. At this point, probably feeling incredibly behind, so kind of going, you know what would help me right here? Quake on pedestal. That's what we're going for.
Oh hey, there's that mushroom for the fetch quest we don't have.
Yeah, well, thankfully the witch does not have the GT big keys, though it would be absolutely terrible if that were an option. No key sanity this go round. Alright, so that's 3 out of the way, and it does look like Illus is going to do a standard route, mainly be out of requirement since we didn't get a small key over there on the right-hand side. Alright, so there's a big 20. There's the tempered sword we were looking for, so that'll help out a little bit. And 2 keys of an inferior value. Alright, just 3 bombs there, so we're 8 checks through. Meanwhile, Shadyforce finding nothing of value in Desert so far.
Yeah, now we're off to check 9, I believe.
Yep, that is what we're on. Ah, stupid fire snake. Stop being mean! There we go. And Rando Room, so named because in the vanilla game you don't come in here. There's nothing useful. Alright, that red mail saving it from being a rando room. But we are 13 checks through. Looks like Bob's chest for you is going to be number 14. We'll see if the big key is being harbored somewhere in there. Meanwhile, Shadyforce playing a little kind of annoying game of peekaboo with our wonderful landmos. Just grabbing the map, so he is definitely going for a ped pull at this point. Oh, there you go! So major kudos to my CoCom Wired Wiki, and also kudos to DJ Mouseman, who was the first person in chat to guess 14.
Is that the second thing I called now?
I don't know. I feel like that one doesn't count as extremely as a call. just because you had like a 4% chance of that being right. With your previous call, you were sitting probably somewhere closer to about 1%, so...
Fair enough, fair enough.
There's also something more viscerally awesome about calling a specific item like that. Especially given the trolliness of it. I mean, come on, calling the Flippers was going to be in Skull Woods and then him literally picking it up not half a second afterwards. Thankfully, Shadyforce is going to find Quake sitting right here on Hammer Peg, so Shadyforce will be in go mode.
Meanwhile, Illus making quick work of the gauntlet.
Yeah, these are honestly, truly some of the most difficult rooms in this game, by far, even though these runners make them seem trivial most times.
I was scared for a little bit that Shady would just leave the Quake there.
You know, that's a fair point. Shady doesn't necessarily... Oh no, Shady does know. Shady did check Turtle Rock, so they do know they're in go mode. I was gonna say, I didn't recall Shady having done that. For a moment, I was like, ooh, I don't know that Shady knows.
Shady also opting to not check what our beloved Smiths have to offer.
I don't believe Illus did so either, so I'm not terribly surprised.
I mean, it's such an easy check with only like 2 or 3 seconds. What if it's Silver's?
That is a very fair point. Although, at this given point, I feel like Shady is, at the very least, really, really cool. That was unfortunate. I feel like Shadyforce is really, really close to being in full-on panic mode, if he hasn't been so for the last 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah, Shady must feel really behind at this point, and yeah, once again, we can't blame him for that.
Which, again, isn't the end of the world. Shady knows he's going to get a Game 3, and he knows he's going to be able to make any changes to the game settings that he chooses to, if he so wants. Illus, meanwhile, having Tempered Sword, deciding that Silver's or Butter, not really worth those 2 checks there.
Yeah, there is a chance that Illus might feel behind because of that Quake.
That is fair, and I mean, in general, it's really hard to not feel behind when you're playing 1v1 on someone. It's really, really easy to kind of go through your route as you're doing it and go, you know, if I hadn't done that, I could have saved time, and if I hadn't done that, I could have saved time. And then, once you've figured that out, it's even easier to go, you know, I'll bet my opponent just did all of this perfectly, even though that's a completely unreasonable thing to assume, because that basically never happens in Randomizer. So, pretty much everyone, pretty much all the time, is going to feel behind when playing 1v1 like this, especially in a tournament setting, and even more so when you need to win to prolong the series. Nice way to end that fight.
Now only the pig left.
Yeah, thankfully Tempered Sword will prevent this from being a full-on terrible fight, but we're still going to see a couple of spins here. 12 slashes or 6 spins for first and second phase, 4 slashes or spins for the third, and then 12 spins to finish out. Especially since Illus does have that blue goo, I am not surprised to see this cape come out. Just go ahead and finish this in 1 cycle guaranteed.
Yeah, if nothing goes wrong, this looks like a really trivial and quick fight for Illus.
It does look like we're going to see a key stealing from Shadyforce. So we are not going to see the 10 arrows, I believe, that were in the lava chest.
Yeah, those were 10 arrows, you're absolutely right about that.
Well, a stop clock is right twice a day. So asking us if we found the silver arrows in the light world, what did we have left other than the tablets?
Pedestal?
Would that be counted in generic light world? I feel like he would say specifically, did you see the silvers that were on Ped? Sucks to be you.
Maybe. It could also be on the witch, I think.
That is a fair point, because we did get the mushroom in Ganon's tower, so we never did check that.
Blacksmith could also be the case. That would be interesting.
That would be really amusing. But either way, it doesn't matter too much for Illus as long as this bridge does not pose a problem. So give it just about 5 seconds, and then providing nothing terrible, you can get your GGs in chat for Illus, who does successfully complete this race. Alright, Illus completes first place with an official SRL time of 1 hour, 35 minutes, and 18 seconds.
Yeah, GG's to Illus for a great race.
Very much so. Making the call to go into Skull Woods ended up being just an amazing call that pretty much decided the game for him.
Yeah, that Skull Woods play was definitely for Illus the deciding, the deciding chunk of this game, of this match.
Meanwhile, poor Shadyforce got randoed.
It happens, don't worry about it. And I think Illus just joined the voice chat. So Illus, GG, how are you feeling right now?
GG. I'm feeling quite glad that I made it this time and that I won this time. Yesterday I didn't feel too bad about my performance and I got beaten by 10 minutes. And today I full queued, so I was a bit nervous. And yeah, I'm glad it worked out.
So how did you feel when you went into Skull Woods and grabbed those flippers, knowing that the fire rod was sitting right there on Lake Hylia Island? Did that feel really good, or were you just kind of assuming that Shadyforce was going to do the same thing?
I was assuming that Shadyforce is not gonna do too much different, especially since you could just water walk. I originally planned to just water walk in case flippers are in some annoying locations. So I would grab the fire rod anyway with the boots and all that. But I found those flippers, so I guess that makes things easier.
Yeah, that was just a huge find for you. And amusingly enough, Shadyforce did end up water walking, but they completely and totally forgot to check Lake Hylia Island. So they pretty much last location that fire rod.
Oh, fun fact, yesterday's game was decided by Lake Hylia Island as well, because the boots were in there and Shady had them in 20 minutes, and it took me like 1 hour to find them. This time it's decided again by Lake Hylia Island. It's kind of funny.
That's crazy. It does seem to be that certain item locations in this version are showing up as being really useful quite frequently. Like Hylia Island being one of those locations.
Yeah, maybe, but sometimes it just happens more often that you find a location in certain iterations of seeds. I think that's a sign of good randomness. And yeah, I wouldn't say that I'm going to check Black Kaya every time. Because, you know, it's randomizer. Next time the fire rod could be in Turtle Rock or whatever. So, yeah, I'm just gonna play my style and not worry about it too much.
That's a very fair point, and probably the best thing you can do. The easiest thing to do is just stay within yourself and play as best you can. So, did you and shadyforce have a chance to discuss Game 3 at all in the SRL?
No, we just discussed the seed and water and wrong, respectively. And we haven't discussed Game 3 yet. We originally planned those 2 games. And now, well, it's gonna go to a Game 3, so we'll see, we'll talk. And then we're gonna have some Game 3. It's gonna be good, I guess.
Oh yeah, it definitely should be. You guys are both really, really good at this game. So I definitely look forward to seeing a Game 3 whenever it occurs.
Thank you, good stuff. Yeah, I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was honestly, yeah, it was really enjoyable to watch. And in the end, it is that the whole chain of getting the flippers to the fire rod to the Titan's mitts on Mothula, that really brought you like into the game. And then immediately check Meyer shed and finding the bow there was incredibly convenient for you as well.
Yeah, even though the bow led to absolutely nothing. So, but at least it led us to the crystals and got us the clears. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, this seed didn't end up being too bad for you in terms of item locations. Quake was kind of hit or miss there for a moment, but other than that, everything was pretty quick.
I'm so glad I still decided to check Turtle Rock. I was finding the cane and I was a bit nervous because I full cleared the seed, or I full cleared the overworld almost, and I almost lost occasion that hookshot, and it took me a while to get to that cane, and so it didn't feel too great. And yeah, so I was a bit nervous and I almost forgot to check Turtle Rock. I'm glad I remembered it because it ended up being Quake. And I think that Quake helped me as well, because I ended up checking a lot of stuff. As I said, almost full clearing the overworld. So if Quake was in a not so great position, I knew that shadyforce would probably do similar checks as me, and that I didn't have to feel behind at that point. So yeah, but in the end I still was a bit nervous. Some mishaps happened, like forgetting that I had the big key in Turtle Rock and checking the middle chest. Or almost falling down a laser bridge, falling down when doing the torches. I was a bit nervous. I was down again. So yeah, there were some bits that weren't optimal, but overall I think I routed and executed quite well. So I told myself that I didn't have to be behind in the end.
And you were definitely correct to feel that way. I think even outside of shadyforce's difficulty with the Lake Hylia Island, I think you'd have been in there regardless. Because even before that, you know, you guys were just kind of going back and forth and doing very different things in terms of your routing, but still checking about the same amount of checks. So you were doing just fine even outside of that.
That's great to hear. I will still rewatch it, see and analyze what happened here, possibly, and yeah, brace myself for what Shady has in store.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I haven't seen a whole lot of changes being made by the people who lose races, so we'll see if shadyforce does decide to make any changes to the list of settings, so to speak.
Yeah, as for me, I chose the same settings again, because I felt like I didn't need to be or I need to be confident about my execution and my routing, and I knew that I might be slightly better in those terms. So yeah, I felt like I would win, or I could very well win if we chose the same settings, so I didn't change them.
Yeah, that's a fair point. There's always a big, healthy dose of luck and usually salt that goes into these randomizer seeds. So, assuming anything is usually beyond all of us, but you usually are going to have a decent chance regardless of what happens. Yeah, that 156 clear rate. Whew. That's a lot of locations, especially because you didn't really have to go into any of the pendant dungeons for any real amount of time.
Well, I still decided to check out Desert Palace. We still had to go to Tower of Hera, we just didn't need to go to Maya because it was basically closed before Goma. And the 156 is actually kind of normal, I would say, in that kind of scenario, because we had Flute and Boots really early, so we just could do a lot of checks in less amount of time.
Yeah, that's fair. The seed did start out really friendly with the Flute, Boots, and Mirror. It just kind of went, okay, so we're just going to give you everything you need to clear stuff pretty efficiently so you guys can just have at it.
Yeah, that's also part of why I didn't feel that great, because you could full clear a seed like that in 140 or so, or 135 to 140, and that's basically kind of the time that I got. And yeah, I didn't want to let my guard down.
Well, either way, you did manage it. You've pushed this to a game 3. Hopefully we'll get some more information on that on the schedule concerning when that's going to be and what changes, if any, that shadyforce makes it to. Meanwhile, over on our screen, shadyforce is headed into Agate 2, so I believe he'll be finishing up this scene just a couple more minutes.
That was a nice double there from Shady, actually.
It was. Aghanim 2 can be really unfriendly, but shadyforce making pretty quick work there. I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out to our wonderful tracker who has been pressing the buttons with amazing reaction time, consistency, and accuracy. So kudos to you, Dragon Strike. Alright, so as shadyforce is finishing up here, Illus, did you have anything you wanted to add as a last minute thought towards this seed before we get shadyforce in here, assuming that he wants to do an interview?
Oh, I kind of want to talk to shadyforce as well because it's kind of fun, but otherwise, I think the seed was really fun because it gave us a lot of early routing movement tools, and we could just clear stuff really efficiently. So that kind of thing is always pretty fun, and yeah, I hope we get another seed like this, and not only because I won, but because it's really enjoyable. And yeah, I hope I can enjoy another game, and thank you guys for your commentary and for the stream.
Yeah, of course. You know, you guys are doing the hard part. We're just sitting here talking. You guys are actually doing the playing and allowing everyone to see it. And I wasn't trying to kick you out of the booth at all. I was just trying to see if you had anything to fill the time with the last couple minutes here as shadyforce runs through the Tempered Sword spin cycle that is Ganon.
I think I talked about basically everything, but I'm curious to see what shadyforce thinks about this seed, and I'm really curious what his opinion is and what he's done wrong. And yeah, we'll see that in a bit, right?
Yeah, I think we are curious about Shadyforce's opinion on this one. And there he goes. GG's for Shadyforce.
Yep, Shadyforce finishes in second place here, hopefully. We just got a bridge clearing. Alrighty. There we go. I try not to call it beforehand because I've seen people fall off that bridge before. So Shadyforce finishes in second place with a final SRL time of 1 hour, 48 minutes, and 51 seconds. So definitely get your GGs in chat for Shadyforce. And I do believe that we can pull them up here in just a moment. Shadyforce, GG. I'm so sorry about Lake Hylia Island.
Oh, that was... I deserved that. I played so badly. I absolutely deserved to get burned by the same thing that burned Illus in the last race. Sometimes you get randoed, but this seed was all me. I just played so badly.
I mean,
Yeah, that's one of those.
Yeah, go on. Go ahead, Ham.
Nope, all you, man. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't say you played terribly because you executed a lot of things well, but there was one thing that specifically caught my mind. That was actually an early game. You went into Tower of Hera, getting the hammer, and then you decided to opt it out and not going to the east side of Death Mountain. Did you actually forget you had the hammer, or was it just... did you have something else in mind?
No. So this is like the start of all my problems, I think. Because when I went to Hera, I can't even remember where I picked up the hammer. Was that in the Tower of Hera?
Yeah, it was actually the first check in Hera.
Yeah, because like when I climbed the mountain, I was thinking, well, Hera is the only place I can go to, so maybe there must be some progression. And if there's no progression there, I guess I have to go somewhere else. I don't know where I'll go, though. I'm running out of locations. So then I pick up the hammer, and I'm like, this doesn't really open up that much. And then I leave and decide to fake flipper because it's something to do. But then I just totally forgot that the hammer just opens up all of East Death Mountain. So that was just a major oversight. I think what's happening is I think I've just watched so much rando today that there's so much different seeds swimming around in my head, and I just couldn't concentrate on what I had on this seed, and I just couldn't process everything, and I made so many rooting mistakes.
Yeah, it happens to all of us. Don't worry about it. Everyone gets randoed as well, and sometimes if you watch a lot of seeds on a single day or play a lot of seeds on a single day, then sometimes you mix up stuff. But yeah, we were talking about hammer. Speaking of hammer, you wanted to ask something as well, right?
Oh yeah, so when you were going towards the south route of the Dark World the first go round, you didn't do Cave 45. Was that by design, or did you just forget that you had the mirror?
I forgot that I had the mirror. That was another example. So I just forgot that I had the mirror when I was going past there, so that was bad. I fluted to Ice Palace and I tried to go in forgetting that I didn't have the mitts. Just a lot of stuff like that in this seed. And like by the 30-minute mark, the 40-minute mark, I thought the seed was lost. I wanted to forfeit. I didn't want to forfeit, but I knew Illus was going to win. Like there was no way he was going to butcher the seed. So when I caught the restream and it was like 110, 120 mark, you guys were saying, I wonder if Shady realizes how far behind he is or something like that. I knew from half an hour into the seed that I was basically losing. Yeah, so it's just very disappointing.
Yeah, and then of course you ended up finding the fire rod sitting on Lake Hylia Island, and that I'll bet was absolutely no fun whatsoever.
Yeah, it just took me ages to remember that particular location. It's always a location that catches me out because it's just a little bit awkward to get to.
Same.
So it's the first time. Yeah, it's just like the last seed. Obviously, I had a nice, convenient way of going there and then doing the flipper checks, and that was great. But many seeds, it's just I never really get around to looking at what's there. And this was just one of them, and then it just obviously took me too long to check it. I ended up doing like Spike Cave and random other slow one-off locations instead, going back to Zora that I missed because I accidentally bonked while in the fake flippers, the water walk setup. That was so bad.
It was also a very unfortunate thing to see that you did the water walk and then got stuck in Zora's domain, not able to get the item from Zora.
Yeah, I've had a little bit of problems with like dashing and then accidentally pushing a different input and then dashing to the side. It happened a lot in the last race, and it was quite funny because everyone was blaming it on the invisible sprite, which is probably partly correct. But in this seed, it happened a lot as well, and that was one example.
Yeah, this seed was a bit trolly with where a couple locations were. It was not fun.
Like Illus mentioned that he almost last location the hook shot, and it took me a long time to get there as well. I think it's just another tough spot to get to once you can route it in conveniently. And obviously we had a lot open by the time it was time to search for Quake. So I think that's always going to catch us out, even if we're like doing well. It's always going to take a bit of time to get there because it's not really the best place to check. We have better places to go. Full clearing ice and things like that is just a much better prospect.
Yeah, because even if you don't have to, if you didn't have to full clear ice in that regard, like you wasted some time, but it wasn't a complete and total loss. Whereas if you're running around the overworld or the dark world looking for stuff, and it turns out that your last item was in one of those crystal dungeons, then you completely and totally wasted all of that time.
Yeah, I think ice gets a bad rep. I think it's fine to go in and clear it. Like, I mean, I know it's a bit slower to full clear it.
I hate Ice Palace. I mean, I full cleared it as well, but I hate Ice Palace.
Yeah, I've heard that actually. I've heard that you're like particularly hated, and sometimes you'll just go moded even if you're searching for items.
Yep.
All right, so shadyforce, the ball is now in your court. If you don't mind my asking, do you plan on making any changes to that third seed? And if so, what are you looking at changing?
Well, I almost certainly want to make some change, and the main reason for that is because if I end up doing like 10 open mode races in this tournament, I will be bored out of my mind. I wanted a bit of variety, but I don't know what I'm going to pick. The options that we have are a little bit tame. You know, I'm a bit disappointed there's no like enemy boss shuffle or full key sanity or hard mode or things like that. All the options are just slight variations. So I don't know. I'll probably pick something. Maybe maps, compasses, shuffle. I'll have a think, and I'll probably message Illus about it like tomorrow.
I mean, yeah, I was curious about trying that out too. In the end, I still took Hold Boring open, so yeah, it would be fun maybe.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a little maps, compass shuffle to see what it's like.
I honestly think that if they open it up to the full gambit of, doing stuff like inverted or key sanity or retro, there are certain people who just flat out hate certain game modes. And I think this was a way to kind of avoid that. So you can still have a little bit of salt, pepper, maybe some more seasoning on your seed, but you're not going to have it to the extent where your seed might as well be its own special thing. So I think that's what their goal was here. I also think they were trying to make sure that we didn't have seeds that took, 2.5 hours. Cough, cough, key sanity, cough, cough. But
more like cross keys, but
yeah, you need cross or something that's going to take that long, pretty much. I think each variation on its own is fine. It's that when they stack up, like when you add key sanity and entrance and Randomizer, that's when all the time stacks up. And I wouldn't enjoy that either. I do like the seeds to be fairly short. I don't want
try
them
cross
forever.
keys. It's fun.
I've tried it a few times. I just can't. I can't get it. I'm bad at open mode seeds, keeping everything in my brain. You can understand how much worse I will be at cross keys.
I learned cross keys for the last cross keys tournament, and I came actually pretty far, and it was really fun. So I started enjoying it. Not so much the normal key sanity though. I still don't like that.
Yeah, I think key sanity plays to my strengths actually, because I think I execute fairly well, and I just make some really bad routing decisions a lot of the time. And I think key sanity insulates me a little bit because it's a little bit more full clear everything.
Yeah, because he gives you obvious signs as to where to go. Like if you get six pod keys, guess where you're gonna go next.
Yeah, I know. It's just I think when I did the Kisanity tournament, I think I played a little bit above my level at the time. I think the mode suits me. It wouldn't be my favorite mode, but I think it suits me. So
That's a fair point. I personally like all dungeons key sanity just because my routing is terrible. And if I know I have to open up pretty much everything anyways, it just means I'm going to have to open up pretty much everything. We can just be done with it.
well,
So
Kisanity's already all dungeons. Let's be real.
that's fair. As it is, I frequently will pick the wrong pendant to go into every time. So I just like all dungeons, probably because I'm slightly a bit of a masochist, but you know.
It's super interesting. The trolliest item in all dungeons Kisanity is the second Agatara key. That's way worse than the Ice Rod. It's way worse than the GT Big Key. It's like actually really bad.
Yeah, I have noticed that it's not fun scouring GT for that second friggin' Aga key when you have everything else you need.
One of the few 80 keys seeds that I've played had the Ice Rod in the first chest in Aga Tower and the Aga Tower second key on Trinex. Oh boy.
That's amazing.
I'm sorry.
It was beautiful. At some point you're just laughing at it.
I think I'm only one of the few people who actually likes retro mode. I think it's actually quite interesting because the fact that you can use keys everywhere means you have a lot of interesting routing decisions and money decisions to make throughout the seed. So I actually quite like it. I know I'm one of the few though.
I mean, ever since I didn't mind it too much either, but ever since I've played in the last year against Minster or nowadays Aster, it was a swordless retro hard, and it was the worst thing I've ever played in my life. So I didn't want to play retro ever again.
I can
I
definitely
don't understand
respect
how
that.
retro and swordless go together though, because the whole idea of retro is you find the take any cave for your sword upgrade.
Yeah, that wasn't the thing, and I think the bot just randomly generated it. And the worst thing about it was that I didn't properly manage the Ganon fight because it was hard mode and swordless. And then I was out of money with the silvers because you definitely need to use silvers, and I also needed to use a lot of potions, and it was just absolutely terrible.
Did you like have to leave and then go and farm money or something?
Yes.
That does sound awful,
Yes.
actually.
Yes.
I think swordless is your main problem there, I'll
awful.
be honest.
So I personally am glad that this tournament is not too spicy. But yeah, some varieties. I personally like inverted a lot. Would have been nice.
Yeah, I would have enjoyed a bit of inverted. It was nice in the last tournament. It's just a good bit of variety. It's quite interesting, and they also, even though they're hard, they also play pretty fast as well, which is cool.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so I think we are about ready to wrap up. Do either of you guys have anything you wanted to add to kind of put a final touch on this lovely, lovely, wonderful, not trolly at all seed?
As I said, I think it was pretty cool to play. It was a bit trolly, but that's fine by me. And yeah, Shady, let's do a game 3. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, GG, dude. It's good that it's coming to game 3, and I'm kind of hoping and maybe a little bit expecting that we're going to be the top 2 anyway in this group. Maybe it's a bit optimistic of me, but I feel like we could both get through. But we'll have an interesting game 3 anyway. So I'll see you then.
Yep, see you then. GG.
Alrighty, GG to both of you. And Wired Wiki, did you have anything you wanted to add before we head out for the night?
I just wanted to say GG to both of the runners and good luck in game 3. I'll definitely keep an eye out on that when that happens, and I want to see the race because this was very entertaining to watch. And I also want to thank the tracker Dragon Strike for doing a very, very good job. I want to thank chat and the viewers for being there, watching this, helping us out when we are goofing around. And of course, as last, thank you, Hammer, for co-commentating this with me. It was an absolute blast.
Of course, I had a blast co-commenting with you as well. Before we let you go for the night, we do have a couple more races coming up. Right now, or rather about 4 minutes ago, there should have been a race that started up on the main Speed Gaming channel. That is Solski versus Dante. There's also a race starting up in just a couple minutes on Speed Gaming 3. That is Dwayne versus Dazed Cloud. We should have another race starting up as well at 8:20 on Speed Gaming 4. Weighty Words versus Bomb Chew Missile. So, on top of that, we do have some more that are starting up a bit later at night, but those 3 are going to be either going right now or starting up very soon. So if you haven't quite gotten your ALTTP randomizer fix, we have a couple options for you. That being said, I believe that's going to be all for me. May your seeds not be PED seeds, and if they are PED seeds or similarly terrible, may they at least be funny.